VHS Rewind.
Hello, this is Mark, and you're listening to VHS Rewind. We have David Lawler over there returning to the show. How you doing, David?
I'm fine. It's been a warm, humid weekend here, and we've had to turn on the air conditioners.
You know what? We have air conditioners on in my house as well, but not up here because I need silence. And
right.
It's not so bad up here. I got a little sunburned today, though. Which is, it's kind of interesting for May.
Yeah, it's the end of May, beginning of June. Right now, as we're recording, it's Memorial Day weekend.
Woohoo!
Yeah, and I don't know, when do we go live with this?
Probably within a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as we stay topical.
Yeah. Talk about Nixon.
Yeah, and world peace. We have to talk about world peace.
Yeah, the beginning of World War IV.
I think it's 4.5.
But you know what? That's a tough one to say. World War IV. It's not one that you can
WW4.
Yeah, WWV. Yeah, WWV. So what are we talking about tonight?
This is the HBO Cinemax guide for June 1984, a very pivotal time.
Oh, you know what? We should release this on June 1st, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
this is 40 years ago. This is roughly 40 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, it's well, actually it would be exactly because it's 1984. You said, right? And what is it? It's 2024 still.
It is still 2020 freaking
so
four.
Let's release this on the 40th anniversary. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
All right. But yeah, according to what's on everyone's screen right now, what's what on HBO? There's a lot of great stuff here, by the way.
This is the page from the HBO guide. Is this? Yes, this is this one half of that page? I guess it is.
Yeah, like we're gonna.
And then the other side you hear is what's hot on Cinemax.
On Cinemax, yeah. Now this particular, we're looking at a guide, an HBO and Cinemax guide. Not the most common thing to find. Where did you acquire this? Because I believe
you have to, if you order HBO by itself, you get just the small little thin guide. But if you order it with Cinemax at the time, that is, because they were both owned by the same company, at least at that time. So you got the double guide, which is like a longer, it's more rectangular. So you got to see HBO and Cinemax and get this really handsome guide. And I had this guide a long time ago. It's only through the good graces of our friend Dave Hooser. He took pictures of this guide, sent it to me, and it brought back a lot of memories. And also, it's a very interesting touchstone. If you remember where you were in June of 1984, this guide will actually help you jog your memory about certain things. Yeah.
Dave Hooser, he's a really great guy, and we had plans to bring him on to the show in the future, and I don't know, just we just didn't get it to happen. So if you're listening, we still totally want to have you come on
the show, Dave. I know that he up until recently was a firefighter, and he's done a lot of traveling, and I believe he's retired or semi-retired. I'm not really sure. And we talk a lot. We talk a lot about. We have a lot of conversations about. Because he's of our age range, so he's a Gen Xer too. So we talk a lot about our times when we were growing up. It's interesting how all our lives kind of mesh together in that way.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
And because of the June 1984 guide is the reason I started my Vintage Cablebox June 1984 reviews. So most of the reviews that you see on VHS Rewind right now, I write for VHS Rewind. My name is David Lawler. How you doing? I forgot to totally talk about myself. And then I also write for my own blog, occasionally Blissville. And I'm also, you can find me on YouTube. I do Upstairs at Fralix. I do a whole bunch of other stuff. There's some stuff I've done with Mark too in the past.
Yeah, tons.
And so because June of 1984 is a very important time for me. It's something that I actually remember vividly. So I wanted to write reviews about all the stuff that we're going to look at now. So.
What happened to you the summer of '84 that makes it stand out?
Well, okay, we didn't have.
Because I have a personal story that I'll share after you.
Okay. When I lived in Philadelphia in '83, we did not have cable at the time because parts of Philadelphia did not have cable because we lived in the historic district, and I guess the city fathers didn't want to, mess up the beautiful historic streets with cable lines. And so when we first moved to Tennessee at the end of 1983 or toward the beginning of 84, we suddenly had cable. And basically this meant cable cost roughly like 30 some odd dollars, and you would get like 20 channels maybe. And we also had, in addition to, cars passing
That's
by.
all right. We're both in New York. We expect it.
So we had Cinemax, HBO, and the movie channel. And so it was like, this was kind of like my film school education, actually. I learned so much about making films. I learned so much about movies.
That's another thing you do. You write, and
I'm a filmmaker as well, yes.
Filmmaker. And some things in production as we speak.
Well, I'm working on a script. I've got one script finished and another one I'm working on at the moment. I've got a horrible block because of all the plumbing problems we've been having in the bathroom. I haven't been able to do a damn thing except clean up the house. And it's a never-ending battle with the water bugs, let me tell you.
But
but
water bugs are gross.
Regardless, I'm working on another film or two at the moment. And yeah, this to me, I mean, this is the perfect encapsulation. Everything in this guide is everything you learn about films, especially at that time. And I think I was how old was I? I was 11 years old in June of 84. So I was a very young man. And I'm not sure, but I think Porky's might be on this. I'm not. I remember seeing Porky's for the first time. Believe me. But there's so many great movies, and it's just shocking to me now that I have 7 HBO channels, and they're not as good as what we're seeing here on this one HBO channel.
Yeah, I don't have any channels. Like we subscribe to Max, and that just gives you everything. And
yeah, we get Max as part of our thing too.
But I won't.
Again, nowhere near as impressive.
I wonder how many of these movies are actually available right now on HBO Max. It just doesn't.
That's a good
bet
question.
You it's not very many.
You'll notice, I mean, there's no licensing, there's no issues, there's no rights. So you're going to see movies that were made by Warner Brothers, Paramount, Universal. You'll even see some Disney stuff in this catalog, I believe. Right. MGM. There's a bunch of stuff here from different places, and it was back then. That's how you sold it, because you were trying to get people to watch the channel. Right. And this is before streaming and all that.
So, in the summer of '84, what happened to me is I went to a college graduation, and it was in very rural New York. It was a very far drive. It was for a relative of mine.
We're talking upstate, Westchester, or Long Island?
Oh, like way upstate, way up, like Buffalo area, like very far.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, they had this like really great in-ground pool and everything, and the pool was made in a very unconventional way. The steps that led into the pool were all like stone. These people had a lot of money. Okay. And I somehow slipped my leg open.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was really bad. And in 1980s fashion, my mother looks at it and goes, "No, you don't need stitches."
Yeah, wow.
And they basically just bandaged it up, and I went on my way, And then on the way, like everything's done, and we're on our way home, and I'm complaining. I'm like, my leg hurts. And my mother takes a look again. She's like, maybe we should get stitches. So we go to like a hospital. There was no urgent care back then. And they go,
emergency room, right?
They said, sadly, you waited too long, and we're just going to wrap it. Like the hospital's literally like, we're just going to wrap it and let it heal on its own, because there's nothing you could do about it
Did they at least clean it up and maybe give you a shot of something?
Yeah. I mean, they gave me like antibiotics and everything.
Good.
But for whatever reason,
I thought this story was going to go terrible, because you're like, sadly, you waited too long, so we're going to have to amputate.
Right. And it's like, I have a robotic leg.
Bionic leg. That would have been so cool.
But for whatever reason, this particular wound would not heal correctly. So I was like, for the entire month of June, I actually missed the end of school. And I was just, my doctor said like I had to stay off my leg to let it heal properly. It was like the weirdest thing in the world. And then they're like talking about skin grafts and all this kind of crazy stuff.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. It was kind of a crazy thing. So the month of June meant a lot to me because I was basically at home watching.
Isn't it interesting how you can remember? You can remember it.
Well, that was the summer. The whole summer was really, I just kind of got into watching a lot of cable.
Yeah, because you had to stay off your leg. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, and two movies that really stood out to me. I'm looking at them right now. And they're not great movies. I'm not proud.
Wait, one question.
Movies.
Do you still have the scar?
Yeah.
Oh, you still have the scar. Okay, so it was like this. Ugh.
Yeah, it's a pretty. At the time, it was a big wound, but now it's kind of a small wound.
But you have like a line of fleshy white.
It's actually a big oval.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what it was is when it cut my leg, it must have done some type of slice under, I guess.
Yeah. It probably got into the muscle.
And that's what the problem was.
Yeah.
But no pain now. But yeah, the two movies that really stood out, and I'm looking at them right now, is the pirate movie, and
that's Christy McNichol, right?
Yeah, and Grease 2.
Grease 2, yes.
With I forget his name.
God, see, that's a situation like your leg where they waited too long.
Yeah, man. I mean, well, also it wasn't a musical, right? I mean.
Well, there were songs, but they were not memorable, and it was more dialogue heavy. Yeah, definitely.
And who is that? Kim Basinger is in that?
No, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Same thing.
And Maxwell Caulfield. And
Maxwell Caulfield.
I'm not sure if Eddie Deason is in this one, though.
No, I don't believe he's in that one. Eddie Deason, he's still doing his thing.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, you guys have been in touch with Eddie Deason. Yeah. He pops up on Facebook every now and then. He pops up in my feed, and I'm like, oh my god! I was just looking at what was I looking at? This movie that he was in '78 called Laser Blast. It was one of those Charlie Band movies, and he's in it playing another one of his patented Eddie Deason characters.
He's Eddie Deason, like that's his character. It's really a really great character. As a matter of fact,
to me, he shows up here in War Games in this magazine, and that to me is the quintessential Eddie Deason movie. Absolutely. I remember all his dialogue.
Hello, Mr. Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head.
Back doors are not secrets.
And he's just like pouting. If you get a moment, you should send him a friend request for a number of reasons.
I don't know if I did. I might be friends. I don't know. I'll take a look.
For one, he's a Beatles expert. Like, he knows everything about the Beatles. I don't know if you know that. And the other thing is he writes so much. Like, he shares everything on Facebook. And it's not just boring stuff. And he tells, like, stories about celebrities that he's met and experiences, and I think it's one of the few people who I read everything he posts,
I just sent a friend request. It says I went to Allegheny High School. Does that mean he's from Pennsylvania, Allegheny? I think it's at Pennsylvania, I guess. Maybe it might be.
I'm not sure. I'm not a friggin' map, David. So yeah, what's on HBO? There's a lot of good stuff on HBO.
All right, yeah.
Carlin on Campus. The Sting 2. I never saw The Sting 2.
I just I reviewed it recently, I think I reviewed it recently a couple of months ago for the VHS Rewind article there. It's an okay movie. It's I mean, again, they waited too long. Why did they wait so long to put out these sequels back then?
Jackie Gleason, I think, was in that.
It's Jackie Gleason, Terry Garr, Mac Davis.
I love Terry Garr.
It's a good cast, yeah.
The Hitchhiker, of course, pretty awesome. A lot of stuff. But let's see what's on Cinemax. Here's the thing.
Cinemax is much different than HBO as far as it's.
I didn't remember, or I don't remember having Cinemax when I was a kid. It was really HBO for me.
HBO, they would I think you had a deal. You got a deal because HBO was like $12 and by itself, but if a channel is like $12.95 or something a month by itself, right? But if you got it in conjunction with Cinemax, it was like a deal, so you got $20, I think. And a movie channel was pricey though. That was like $15 because they would show. I'm not sure if Cinemax showed R-rated movies during the day, but HBO definitely had a policy that it would not show R-rated movies until after 8 o'clock.
Right. Yeah.
But if you notice, look at these titles. There's adult erotica going on here.
Skinemax.
You've got Angel of Heat, which is I think Marilyn Burns or Marilyn Chambers. I'm not really sure. And then under Bad Boys is this movie called Bilitis, which is Loves of a Young Woman, which is basically like a lesbian European art film, you know.
Loves of a young woman.
Yes,
French.
yes. It's about a young woman's erotic journey from Milan to Minsk or something. I don't know.
But you also have like things like First Blood. You know, movies that were kind of
There's some really
violent.
good stuff here. There's Kane Mutiny and
War Games again.
Dr. Detroit. There's a Woody Allen film retrospective here too.
Yeah, what is playing here from Woody Allen? Manhattan.
You got Manhattan, Love and Death, Stardust Memories, I believe. Interiors, which was his only drama at the time. Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex, which is basically Gene Wilder having sex with an underage sheep. You know,
I never
a
saw.
lot of great stuff. A lot of good stuff in
A
there.
lot of these movies I have not seen.
Oh, Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy. I reviewed all 5 or 6 of them. I'm not sure.
But they also mix in some classic stuff. I mean, Charlie Chan stuff, which is kind of interesting.
Well, that's The Curse of the Dragon Queen, and that's also got Michelle Pfeiffer in it, looking absolutely
I never
gorgeous.
Saw that. Oh, really?
She was so gorgeous. Peak hotness of Michelle Pfeiffer in this movie. And it's got Richard Hatch playing number 1's son. He was Apollo on the original Battlestar Galactica. Mm-hmm. And you have Peter Ustinov playing Charlie Chan.
Interesting.
And I believe Angie Dickinson is the Dragon Queen.
You have Oklahoma. Nothing wrong with that.
Oklahoma. Yeah, a lot of classic movies here.
Yeah. So that I'll scroll up here. So June 1st, Friday.
This is Friday, June 1st, and this is when we should drop this episode, right?
Yeah, this is totally.
Let's take a look.
I think it would be
that'll be next Saturday from when we're recording here.
very close. Very close.
Look at the very first movie, Megaforce. How awesome is that?
Yeah,
I reviewed every movie on this first page. This is my first review for the June 1984 thing, and I made a point to see every movie and then review it for one whole review.
Yeah, Megaforce was excellent. I watched that not that long ago.
Great movie.
Yeah.
And the good guys always win, even in the 80s. That was like the last thing he says in the movie.
Let's see. We have. I mean, I love the fact that you can go back in time and just kind of see what's on. You know. So let's see if we can find anything rated R. So Megaforce was rated R, right? Maybe not.
No, I don't think so. There wasn't anything in it that
PG.
was really like violent or anything. There was a lot of explosions and a lot of vehicles, but no, it's PG. It's you can see it's just adult language and some, mild violence for the time.
Do you remember Video Jukebox on HBO?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the first place I saw the video for Whitney Houston's song "How Will I Know," and I'm watching it and I'm like, my God. And this is when she was like, she wasn't known yet. She wasn't quite known yet. Mm-hmm. She had done some things and she was in a famous family of singers, but then she releases her debut album. They show this video on Video Jukebox and I'm like, wow, she is going to be huge. I knew she was going to be huge just looking at that video.
Really? Total.
Also a couple of, maybe Madonna too. I saw some Madonna stuff.
I don't, I guess they were trying to capitalize a bit on MTV.
Mm-hmm.
Like we could do it too. It's just like your regular. A lot of the stuff I kind of refer to. I said your thing kind of vanished. I'll fix that. Some of the stuff.
Did I lose this? I lost this.
Yeah, I know. It'll come back in a sec.
Hang on.
Yeah, some of the stuff will be.
There we go. Okay.
Some of the stuff. Yeah, if it vanishes, I'll just pop it back on. I refer to them as HBO type of movies. Pirate movies, one of the movies that I think of as an HBO movie, but also, which is the one I just saw here. I guess National Lampoon's Vacation is really kind of an HBO thing.
It was made by Warner Brothers. This was the premiere episode now on HBO. Okay, and then they would show Psycho 2 in addition to Vacation, or actually Psycho 2. Well, no. Okay, yeah, Vacation was on Cinemax. That's where it premiered at 8 o'clock, and then Psycho 2 premiered on HBO at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, pretty good stuff. So let's move on to the.
Can you imagine those choices? Those choices are just amazing.
Honestly, if HBO or Max, or whatever you want to call it, would just go back and play these as kind of just a month of throwback to '84, I guarantee people would really tune in. A lot of the stuff I would watch.
Yeah, a lot. I think maybe the difficulty's probably, at this point, it's licensing and everything. Isn't MGM owned by Amazon now?
Probably. I mean,
well, look at that. See, June 2nd. You've got Poltergeist. Wow.
Yeah, like you wake up on Saturday, right? And Fraggle Rock. I've never been into it. I was never into Fraggle Rock personally.
I liked it. It's Jim Henson, doing this after the Muppet show was over, and then he starts up Fraggle Rock, and then there was also Emmett Otter's Jughead Band and all that.
But Poltergeist, I don't know. I would probably try to sneak that in and just watch it.
Poltergeist was one of those movies that was like really intense and very close to getting an R rating. But I think it was Spielberg's influence that kept it from that.
Loosely based off of a true story that happened right here in Long Island. And I actually lived 3 blocks from the house.
From a Poltergeist house?
No, the Poltergeist house. It's the story is loosely based off of events that happened in the 50s in Seaford, New York. It's one of these fun little things. And
was it like close to the story of a missing daughter, maybe?
Yes. You have to read about that. I'll send you a link to the fun of it. It's pretty crazy.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a good day of watching television. Chevy Chase, of course.
If you're not out doing what kids should be doing on a Saturday, which is having fun, playing baseball, riding on a BMX bike. That's what I did a lot.
Yeah, that's one thing. I didn't get an opportunity to do that summer much. And I used to love my bike.
We had down the block from the house was a gravel pit that was very smooth, and you go there with your BMX bike and you go down and up, and it would be like it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had before they built this like parkway out here, they used to just have like the ruins of like just an area where you could just jump hills and stuff like that. It was really great. Kids don't know what it's like to just have like open wilderness.
Not anymore. Everybody's locked inside. My daughter, all she does is look at her cell phone,
Oh, really? Gotta get off that phone.
It's sad.
Unless you call, then all of a sudden it's kind of like, I didn't have my phone with me. Let's see, on a Sunday, pirate movies getting a lot of attention. It's kind of crazy, actually. For such kind of a weak movie.
You have The Man Who Saw Tomorrow. That was, I think, Nostradamus, right?
Yeah, I remember that. That's funny.
And there's Twice Upon a Time. And that's another movie I reviewed. And I remember Chris Hassler talking about it with a degree of fond remembrance.
Yeah, Chris is just a beacon of knowledge. So this making of Raiders might be interesting. It probably ended up on a DVD or something. SCTV.
Yeah. There's SCTV that Cinemax would run those episodes uncut at the time. This particular night, you had a choice of either The Sting 2, which was premiering, I believe, or Blue Thunder on Cinemax. And Blue Thunder is another great movie, very exciting, very action. And you have Roy Scheider and going toe-to-toe with Malcolm McDowell, who he served with in Vietnam. And they have this incredible helicopter. John Badham directs this movie. He directs this movie. It was released about maybe a month before War Games came out. So it's interesting. He must have made those movies back to back, and then they got released through different companies, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I have Blue Thunder on Laserdisc, which I used to love this movie. And
I have it on Blu-ray myself. Laserdiscs take up too much space anymore.
Not enough. I want them bigger, heavier, more difficult to store.
It's just the same deal as War Games, kind of like techno thriller and paranoia as a result of technology.
But I love War Games. And War Games does have some scenes where you can kind of say, like, it's very Blue Thunder. Like, the whole helicopter scene where...
That's the way Badham was. Badham has always been kind of weird and paranoid about that. He also made another movie called Nick of Time later on with Johnny Depp. You remember that one? About Johnny Depp being watched. His daughter is abducted. It's kind of Hitchcockian. He's being forced to assassinate a politician, or else they'll kill his daughter. It's just, and they've done that kind of movie before.
Fun stuff.
But yeah, it is fun stuff. It is, yeah.
We got Linda Ronstadt in concert. I don't know if I would watch that personally. I probably would skip Linda Ronstadt. I would also probably skip, for the most part, Superstars on HBO.
Lots of country. A lot of country music stuff going on there.
It's just it wasn't my cup of tea then. It's not my cup of tea now.
My mother was a huge Linda Ronstadt fan back in the day when Linda was into, rock and country rock. After she made a record called Mad Love, I believe it was, which was a lot of new wave and Elvis Costello covers and stuff like that. She took a step back and started doing the stuff with Nelson Riddle, like What's New and Lush Life and that kind of stuff. And it wasn't as popular, to be fair. It wasn't as popular as her earlier rock stuff.
Yeah, it's Linda Ronstadt just even in this little picture
beautiful voice, beautiful woman. These days she's not in the best of health, but
but in this
she's
photo,
a great singer.
I feel like she's channeling a little Madonna, and I mean that's what was so popular at the time.
It's interesting because I think a couple of songwriters for Madonna wrote songs for Linda Ronstadt on one of those previous records I mentioned. It was a different time. You had Linda Ronstadt that gave way to, Debbie Harry and Blondie, and then that gave way to Madonna.
Yeah. And
then here we are with frickin' Taylor Swift. So there you go.
You deserve every minute of it. So look at this artwork on curtains. I'm trying to zoom in on it, and it's killing me here.
Probably the movie poster, and this is a really good movie, actually. I also reviewed this page for one of my VHS Rewind reviews.
Oh, wonderful.
Part 3 is a good Friday the 13th movie. Probably not the one that most people would like to remember. They like to remember the one with Crispin Glover dancing like an idiot with Corey Feldman, and at the end.
Right.
This is the one before that. It's a good one. It's okay. It was done in 3D originally, so a lot of the effects are kind of dumb when you look at them in 2D, but I'm sure if you're wearing the glasses, it's very effective. Now, Curtains is a fun one.
I'd never seen it, but we do get a warning that there's actually rape in it.
Yeah, there I guess is a scene, but it's not. It depends on the threshold that you have for rape scenes. To me, watching Death Wish movies is not that great, but this isn't really about that. There's like maybe 30 seconds that looks like it might be rape.
Right. Psycho 2, which I think is just, even though it was not a Hitchcock film, it's
a great film though. It's a great sequel.
Yeah, I thought it's one of the few. I really did not expect to like it. I put it off for years and years and years. I finally watched it, I don't know, like 8 years ago or something. And I loved it. Yeah. Even my kid liked it.
It is it's like, it actually, it turns Norman Bates into kind of a victim in a way, because these other people are trying to manipulate him and they're trying to make him crazy. And it's kind of sad in the end, because he does wind up being crazy with the famous shovel. See?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's just an amazing thing when he clocks over
that whole ding. You can hear it too.
Yeah, it's really, you can. National Lampoons used to be a thing, man. Remember that? I mean, the magazine was a big deal.
Yeah.
The movies were so kind of, surprisingly good.
Again, we were in the peak of slasher horror films. That's why Psycho 2 is kind of a slasher horror film, because the first Psycho movie is the beginning of all that. And then they sort of do that. And then Class Reunion becomes a kind of a slasher film too, except it's a comedy. So it's kind of a ridiculous comedy about I forget who it is, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's ever seen it, but it was like one of these movies where a kid is unfairly picked upon, and then later on at a high school reunion, he starts murdering everybody or something.
Fun.
There's a good cast. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit. It's not quite as funny.
Right.
And it definitely doesn't compare like Vacation or Animal House or anything like that.
And who's the guy with the bag on his head? That was a comedian, right?
I believe his name is Blackie Dammit. That actually is his name, Blackie Dammit.
Jeez. I mean, yeah, I used to love SCTV. I used to love National Lampoon's type of humor. The Hitchhiker was a really interesting series. I was just talking about The Hitchhiker with my wife earlier. It was like one of the first of these anthology shows. This one isn't quite horror though. It's more like erotic, maybe erotic thriller. Yeah, I remember it being like kind of like, hey, what's up? Like I'm watching this.
Exactly, and you had to watch it like late at night.
Yeah, it was interesting, but it's weird because the way it was portrayed was kind of like Tales from the Dark Side, but it was also really wasn't
the most awesome theme song ever too. It's like the synthesizer thing. It goes. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Sting 2. It's what you kept the subscription for this month. The Sting 2 we got. I love Terry Garr. I think she's just great. Jackie Gleason, I mean, I'm not going to complain that he's in the movie. I wouldn't see this though. This just wouldn't be my cup of tea.
It's the big problem with it is that it's written and directed by the same guy who wrote the first Sting, but again, they waited too long. And this one, they tell you what they're going to do, and rather than surprise you with their cons, whatever they're going to do, instead they tell you. So they pretty much take all the suspense away, so you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. Just it's a money grab.
And the movie flopped. I mean, it costs a lot of money. The budget was probably twice what the original Robert Redford, Paul Newman movie was, and it made no money back. So it did flop.
Consumer Reports on HBO. I kind of remember that.
Wait, where are we? We're moving up.
Yeah, I mean it's just listed here at 6.
Oh. Where are we? We are at The Water Baby. What the hell is The Water Baby? Sorry. Enter the Dragon, I know.
June 8th, we're up to.
Assaulted Nuts. Okay, this is there's a show on Cinemax called Assaulted Nuts, and they were a comedy. It was sort of like a sketch comedy show, and it had like nudity in it, kind of like hardcore television. There was a show called Hardcore Television on HBO, but you had, I think, William Sadler was a member of the cast, and Wayne Knight was a member of the cast, and some of their stuff was fairly funny. It wasn't quite as funny as not necessarily the news, though.
Assaulted Nuts being on at 5:30 in the morning, though. You get up early enough.
5:30 and later, because it's like after hours, it's that kind of thing. Here we got Paul Newman, and ironically, they're not showing the Sting.
Right, like why wouldn't they have like tonight double feature, right?
Yeah, they should.
Makes no sense.
They've got The Hustler, which is that's a great movie. That's a really good movie.
Yeah. And again, Jackie Gleason. So
Jackie Gleason's in this movie. No Sting, no original Sting. Now, The Verdict is considered his masterpiece. It was directed by Sidney Lumet, and he was nominated for an Oscar. He didn't win. He finally won his Oscar for The Color of Money, which is the sequel to The Hustler, directed by Martin Scorsese.
Was Jackie Gleason in that as well? No.
Was he? No, he was not.
Tom Cruise was, right?
I believe they wanted to write a part for him, and they tried to write it, and then Gleason said, "No, you're going to ruin it if you put me in it." And
then he called them sons of bitches and hung up on them. I've never seen The Towering Inferno.
I remember seeing it when it was on. That was probably the only time I saw The Towering Inferno was when it was on Cinemax back then, and it is a big Irwin Allen disaster movie. He produced and co-wrote it. I believe it was directed by John Guillermin, who went on to direct the 1976 King Kong with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange. Another my favorite of the King Kong movies, frankly.
Yeah, that's a fun one. It is. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I like it a lot more than the Peter Jackson one. The Peter Jackson one is just too long.
Did we mention Stardust Memories before? I think we did.
I think we'll mention it with the
yeah, because it has all the Woody
Allen retrospective here.
The Dark Crystal. Which,
yes, yes.
As a kid, I loved it. I don't know. I mean, I tried watching it a few years ago. I'm very rough on movies that I enjoyed as a kid.
I felt the same way. There were movies that I really enjoyed when I was a kid, but I look at them today and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And unfortunately, Space Hunter is one of them. Space Hunter is a movie I really enjoy, but it's really kind of stupid now watching it as an adult. You know?
The guy's face, it's like, yeah, what's up?
He's kind of like, okay, that's Peter Strauss, and he's also in that movie I mentioned with Johnny Depp that was directed by John Badham, Nick of Time. Oh. He's the bad guy, I believe.
Is Nick of Time the movie where they smoke a lot of cigarettes?
I don't know.
It's just a Johnny Depp movie where I'm like,
Johnny Depp smoked a lot. I know that.
But the movie, it was like there was not one scene without him smoking. It was like the craziest.
You think it was like smoking cigarettes like crazy? What the hell was I watching? I was watching something the other day where everybody was smoking constantly. Oh, Pulp Fiction. We were watching Pulp Fiction because
smoking. Yeah.
It's the 30th anniversary of Pulp Fiction's release, or at least it's when it premiered at Cannes, May of 1994.
Wow.
Every scene in that movie, every character is smoking.
Yeah, Rami and I watched it just a few months ago, his first time, and he loved it. Just loved it. So.
Yeah, me and my wife love it. Regan, she laughs at certain things, but she doesn't like the movie as a whole.
Not every kid is going to be into it, but
yeah, I know. It's so sad how these kids just don't get it, man.
Well, my kid is like really, really into film. Like he's really into it, but he does watch a lot of new stuff that I just don't personally have time for. But
that you don't get, yeah, because I mean, like think about our generation. We had it all. We had the best of everything. Can you imagine all the stuff that we watched? But
they have it all. They could have it all. But
they could if they appreciated it, but they don't.
I think I told you he listens to like 1960s Japanese jazz, so it's like he's really off. He's in a different path, and that's fine. It's totally fine. Just go find your path.
I find even after all the movies I've seen, there's still some stuff I want to explore. Like I'm really loving watching 70s made-for-television horror films. For some reason, they are so creepy and so well made. It's interesting.
1970s ones.
Yeah, movie made-for-TV horror movies from the set. They used to show. I don't know if they do it anymore. I don't know if they make made-for-TV movies anymore. Maybe it's because of all the streaming and all that stuff. But you don't really see it. But back in the 70s, they were really on their game when they were making like atmospheric horror movies.
Right.
You would have like Steven Spielberg started off directing like horror films for TV. John Carpenter, people like that, and it was a lot of fun watching them.
Well, I believe, are you familiar with Midnight Offerings?
I've heard of it, yeah.
With Melissa Anderson and Mary Beth McDonough. And that's a made-for-TV movie. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a bananas movie. That's a real
but it's creepy, though, right? It's atmospheric and everything.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically... And it's kind of more violent than a lot of other things that you might find on television. I mean, Melissa Anderson, who plays Mary Ingalls, is basically a witch, and she's killing people just because they piss her off,
I love that. I love that idea. That sounds awesome.
But she's doing the whole ceremony and everything. It's pretty cool. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, recently, I watched Elizabeth Montgomery, who's Sam on Bewitched, was in two really good horror movies. One was called The Victim from 1972, and then she was in The Legend of Lizzie Borden from 1975.
Yes, I never saw that, but I hear it's good.
For which she won an Emmy. I believe she won an Emmy for that, or was nominated. There's a 1080p copy of it on YouTube circulating around.
Wait, I'm gonna bring this over. Whoops. I'm going to bring another screen onto your screen so you can see Midnight Offerings. Look at some of these shots. I mean, for 1981, it's it's like Anton LaVey right here or something.
You're the Little House expert. Who is that? Bonnie Bedelia? No, that's Mary. No, that's Mary Beth McDonald. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
She looks like Bonnie Bedelia in that shot. I wanted to ask you, since you're the expert on Little House, well, more than me anyway. Was Melissa Sue Anderson fired from the show because she was in either this movie or Happy Birthday to Me?
No. Although she was in her bra with Happy Birthday to Me. I interviewed her I guess about a year ago now. I'm one of I was very fortunate to get in touch with her, and she's like, yeah, I'll come on to your podcast, but she doesn't do interviews with anyone, which I was just like, holy cow, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're very lucky.
So, yeah, I was very, very blessed to get that. And I've created this kind of friendship with her, which is pretty cool. She's like lives in New York and like in Manhattan and in Canada. She goes back and forth. She
was also an exceptionally beautiful girl back in those days. I had a crush. When I watched Little House, I liked her. I didn't like Melissa Gilbert's character all that much. She was kind of like a little brat. But and then when, basically, because according to the books, her character goes blind. Yeah. And the thing is, she just sort of disappeared from the show, and I was wondering why. Yeah. They just sort of marginalized her character, put her,
it had a lot to do with her wanting to leave the show as well. She has a lot of I think a lot of social issues. I think she wanted to do other things, and that was like it. I think a lot of people, they just got tired of doing Little House.
It was on for so long, I guess. Yeah. It was on from the early 70s to the mid 80s, right? Mm-hmm. And then they made another show after that.
Well, they did do Father Murphy.
Then they also did Little House New Beginning or something.
Oh, those are
Next Generation. I don't know.
Yeah,
the Next
Generation.
TV
movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let's get the band back together for one more movie.
He just couldn't get it out of his system, even when he was doing Highway to Heaven.
Yeah. Well, I've launched another podcast called Land and Nation. It's actually not I'm the co-host, but it's not my idea. And this is Kelly Milkey's idea, and we basically review Little House, Highway to Heaven, and all of the other stuff, including Bonanza. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. You
should also review I Was a Teenage Werewolf at some point.
Oh, yeah, completely. But we do a lot of inside jokes to the point where it's ridiculous. Like, we mix a lot of Beatles music into it somehow. So it's a real kind of, you listen to it, and it's kind of like an avant-garde thing that we're doing.
All right, that sounds interesting. All right, kids out there, for you little heads. Let's call them little heads.
Little heads.
I want to say dead heads for some reason, and Little House fans, so it should be little heads. I don't know.
People should check out Walnut Grovecast.
Right.
Why not? But Woody Allen.
We're moving on around the Woody Allen.
Right?
I did a whole bunch of reviews of this stuff too.
What's your favorite?
My
Woody
first
Allen
introduction, I would say, to Woody Allen was this festival here.
Which Woody Allen movie do you remember seeing as a kid that really changed you? Like, it made you think like, wow, I like Woody Allen and I like his movies.
As a kid, I appreciated Love and Death because that was the last of his ridiculous early funny stuff. After Love and Death, he started doing more serious stuff like Annie Hall, Manhattan Interiors. Mm-hmm. Interiors is like it's not funny. It's not a comedy. It's a drama.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Family drama.
When I saw Manhattan was like one of the first Woody Allen movies I saw, but I didn't kind of get it. Like, I was like, it looks cool. It's this, it's that, but I didn't get it. But it was Annie Hall that really kind of made me like fall in love with all of his work.
Annie Hall was not supposed to have been about that. It was supposed to have been a murder mystery.
Annie Hall?
Yeah. Him and Diane Keaton play people who get into a relationship together, and there's a murder mystery that they have to solve. He was actually going to make it more about that, but his editor, Ralph Rosenblum, said, I don't like the murder mystery stuff. Let's take it all out and just make it a romantic comedy that focuses on you and the girl. That's the best movie. And so he was like, okay. So they took a lot of that stuff that they'd cut out. They rewrote it as Manhattan Murder Mystery, and it was released in 1993.
That's interesting. I never heard that.
It's so strange. I mean, it's like again, that was that transitional period, I think. Yeah. He did goofy stuff. He did Everything You Always Want to Know About Sex, which came out in 72, 73, something like that. He did Sleeper, came out in 73.
What
He
about
does Love and Death, came out in 75.
What's Up, Tiger Lily?
What's Up, Tiger Lily? Yeah, that was late 60s.
Very, like, bold, I think.
That was taking a Japanese spy thriller called Kagi no Kagi, Key of Keys, and just removing the soundtrack and then bringing in his own actors, kind of like Riff Tracks or Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah,
and just sort of making a ridiculous movie about the search for the perfect egg salad recipe.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's funny. I didn't know about this movie, right? Because I would say in the early 90s, like let's say 92, this is a movie that people, I don't like. You didn't see. This is not a movie that you'd find kind of in rotation. And I was at my friend Gustavo's house, and it's like 4 a.m, and he has IFC on or whatever was the equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden he's like, hey, did you ever see this movie? And I'm like, I never even heard of this movie. He's like, you got to watch this. He's like, it's a Woody Allen. And he explained exactly what you said. And we watched it, and it was the weirdest movie. I mean, I'm going to revisit it soon, but.
It's a good movie, like in the middle of the night, and you have a glass of whiskey in your hand or something, right. Or you're on your second shot. And just sit there and just watch it.
I mean, it had to have been a flop, right? It could not have made any money.
It played in art houses. I don't think it got like a big release or anything like that, but it was fairly popular with the hip crowd at that point. He had already made a name for himself as a stand-up comedian, a writer on television. And so he was like, I guess the distributor that he was talking to had the rights to this movie. So he was like, okay, I'll make a joke movie out of it. And that sort of launched his career. He also had written parts of Casino Royale, the original James Bond movie from the late 60s, and he also did What's New Pussycat.
I have both of those on Laserdisc.
It's fun. And then he also did Play It Again, Sam, on Broadway, which was the big, huge hit, and then they made a movie out of that, you know. So, I mean, but I say at the beginning of my review, maybe it's controversial. The thing is, I like to separate the man from what people think about him. There's a lot of hatred for Woody Allen these days, and the thing is, I think he's a fine filmmaker, and I feel the same way about Roman Polanski. Great filmmakers, you know, and let's just be honest about it. The more creative and more gifted you are, you're not going to be the greatest human. And yeah, it's very questionable what he did. And as far as his relationship with Soon-Yi, but he was not related to her. He was not her stepfather. He wasn't even married to Mia. They didn't even live together. You know, basically it was his girlfriend, and that was his girlfriend's adopted daughter.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
A lot of people think he's a perv. Maybe he is. I don't know. Manhattan is about him having an affair with a young lady, basically a high school student.
Yeah, I mean, his real life situation, is it ideal? No. But at the same time, it's his life. It just doesn't matter to me. And that
They're still married.
Everyone.
They're still married together.
Yeah.
They had a child together. There's obviously it's love. It's not some kind of, perverted, dirty old man or anything. You know, I mean, he might be a dirty old man. We all are. You know.
You know, he was. I had the opportunity to very extremely meet him. I'm at the Iridium, where I went to go see Les Paul perform. This is a very long time ago.
And he was there.
He showed up there to see somebody who was performing with Les Paul, and he didn't perform, and he was just talking whatever, and I'm like, oh, holy crap, I have to just go up and say hi to Woody Allen. And he wasn't shaking hands or anything like that, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm a big fan. He's like, thank you very much, you know, and that's it.
Is he I did spot Woody Allen one time at the Museum of Art in Philadelphia because there was a Mark Chagall exhibit, and my mother took me to see Mark Chagall. Oh, we lost our screen here.
Oh, okay, I'll fix.
We went to see a Mark Chagall exhibit of his paintings, and Woody Allen happened to be in town, and he was there to see it. And he was there, and he was wearing his traditional outfit, which is like a beige fishing cap or whatever it is he wears. But when you met him, is he really, really small?
Well, he was shorter than me. I'd say he's like 5'4", 5'5". You know,
oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, I'm 5'10". I think you're probably like 6 foot if I had to guess.
I'm between 6'1" and 6'2".
Okay.
So and because I'm in my 50s, I'm shrinking quickly.
I'm like 5'10", 5'11". So, I mean, I'm not like towering over the guy or anything like that. But yeah, he's like 5'5" or something like that.
I mean, a lot of people hate him, and they want to hate him now because he was like one of the first to be truly canceled when you think about it.
Yeah. It's same thing with,
But he's a genius, and he's like an incredible filmmaker, and I have nothing but respect for him.
Me too.
And even his misses are better than a lot of people's successes,
Yeah, he puts a lot of heart into his things. Even in the 90s when he was, did you ever see, oh no, that's not his movie. What was his movie? I know there was the I Love You Daddy was the other guy's movie.
That was Louis C.K., right?
Yeah, Louis C.K., which is, I think, a pretty good movie. But Woody Allen had another movie that was also destroyed. It was taken off.
He had a few movies that were failures until he got like a new contract, I think, and he came back with that Match Point movie, and also what's the other one with Scarlett Johansson? Oh, Vicky Cristina Barcelona. His movies have consistently done very well, except now they've decided to cancel him again after this latest movie that he made, Cafe Society, for Amazon. It's a movie they won't even show in the United States. It's just so silly.
Yeah, that was the situation with this one. It's A Rainy Day in New York. And,
A Rainy Day in New York, something like that. Yeah,
which is I thought it was a good movie. It was cute. It has the guy from Dune in it, like the main guy.
Which one? You talking
the kid, like the younger.
Timothée Chalamet.
Timothée Chalamet, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're really good in it, and you have Elle Fanning in it. She's all grown up.
Yeah.
So
that's a babe and a half right there, and she's a tall one too.
Literally a babe.
All right, here we go. We got some Eros America. That was the name of the show I was trying to remember. That was sort of a precursor to Real Sex. And I reviewed this too. I reviewed this whole page as well.
Yeah, the more you talk about Cinemax stuff like that, the less I remember. I just don't think I had Cinemax.
The whole saying about Skinemax, there it is,
Yeah, exactly. I remember seeing Cinemax, and like once like 10 o'clock came around, this is when all the adult stuff would start being played.
All the saxophone music and the candlelight. And all that.
Exactly. It's hilarious. Let's see what.
I have a movie coming. Oh well, I did a review of a movie called Sensation with Kari Warrer, which is kind of it's a more thoughtful kind of erotic thriller. And then I have this other one that's coming out soon called Blown Away with Nicole Eggert and Corey Haim. And that's also kind of a sex thriller with these crazy kids.
Now, back in these days, they used to actually have a lot of respect for older movies. And
they did, yeah.
Yeah, they just don't do it anymore.
No, you can't. You know why? I mean, like, you know where I go mainly now? I mean, like, occasionally a movie will pop up on HBO and I'll watch it. Like, we watched the Avatar sequel recently. But when I look for classic movies now, I go to TCM because they show them uncut and they usually provide some really nice commentary,
right?
At the beginning and at the end. And they show some really obscure stuff that I've never seen, so I love watching that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that is good. Unless you're watching Blazing Saddles, then you get some podcaster giving you a lecture on why you should feel bad about laughing.
Today's standards. Yeah. That's my favorite thing. Goodfellas. I told you about the Goodfellas thing, right?
No.
They put a warning before Goodfellas saying, this movie is not up to today's standards of inclusivity and diversity and all that stuff, and there's stereotypes, cultural stereotypes, and no one even thought to consider that the story of Goodfellas is a true story, but they're trying to warn you about cultural stereotypes. It's just hilarious to me.
Blazing Saddles, true story too. No, but Goodfellas.
It was a black sheriff, yes.
But I don't really even know. I can't even point at a scene in Goodfellas where I would feel as though there's not some level of balance. I mean, it's a mixture of everyone, it's like Irish and Italians, like these are like the working
It's
class.
Mostly Irish people. There's a couple of Italian people, but it's mainly, like Robert De Niro and Ray Liotta are Irish,
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be, and Pesci is like,
the Italian, he's the only one.
He's the made man, and he thinks he's going to get made, and he doesn't. So there you go.
That's kind of interesting. I mean, I know there's that scene with the I forget his name, the one black guy that worked for them, and they killed him.
Oh yeah, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, was it Samuel Jackson? Yeah,
that was Samuel L. Jackson. He played Spider, and he got shot.
No, not Spider. Spider was the guy from that other show from Sopranos.
No. His name was Spider in Goodfellas too.
Mm-mm. I don't think so.
I think so. I think that was his name. Well, let me check. Let me check Goodfellas and see who Samuel L. Jackson was playing.
Look how young Mel Gibson is here. In
Which
Goodfellas.
movie is that?
No, I'm kidding.
Bird, I can't see anything.
Went away again. Dang it.
It went away again. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes this connection can be kind of. It's not really the connection. It's just the service.
Stax. Sorry, it wasn't Spider. It was Stax. You're right.
I knew it was. Spider was the guy who was like kind of the waiter. I forget his name.
Michael Imperioli, right?
Yes.
The guy he shot in the foot and then he freaking killed. Oh God, that was terrible.
He's a good dig in the hole. Hey, fine. It won't be the first hole I dug.
We just watched Year of Living Dangerously recently, last week, I think, and then I had to watch it for my review because I reviewed this, Prom Night, and Six Pack.
What year is this? I mean, holy cow. He's like a kid.
It was 83, and Prom Night came out in 81, and Six Pack came out in 82.
I'm just
a very young Anthony Michael Hall and Diane Lane are both in Six Pack.
Wow. Well,
It's a cute movie. It's a really cute movie. He plays a race car driver. He gets jacked by these orphans who strip his car for parts, and then he makes them as part of his pit crew because they're very good at fixing cars. It's a very cute movie.
I'm just trying to see. He was born in 56. Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out how old he is in the Year of Living Dangerously.
56. He'd probably be 27, right?
Yeah, he's like a kid there. Wow. Look at this.
27, 26. Yes, he's a very young man. It's a great movie. Unfortunately,
Rogers?
I don't think it has a Blu-ray release. I don't think it was ever released on Blu-ray. It is on DVD and VHS, and you can find it on some streaming services, and maybe Amazon will run it because it is MGM. But it shows up. It shows up on cable every now and then.
But Kenny Rogers has always been old, right? I mean, the guy he's never looked young to me. This is the way he's looked the entire existence.
And to be fair, he's not a great actor either.
No.
But the director doesn't tell him to do anything special. He just says, just be Kenny. Just be as natural as possible.
There you go.
All right. Ooh, look at this.
See,
This is some
cute.
good stuff here.
This is cute. Like Full Moon Madness every month on Cinemax. And I don't
They
know.
do this. They put horror movies up there. So it was,
I like it. There's something interactive about it. It's something to look forward to that's a little different. Look at this artwork. Holy moly. From Waylon Jennings.
This is, I did. Okay, these two, both Waylon Jennings and Teddy Pendergrass. This was after Teddy had his car accident that resulted in his paralysis from the waist down. And then Waylon Jennings had just recovered from cocaine. He had a really bad cocaine addiction, and he put out this new album, Never Could Toe the Mark. Both of these, actually, Love Language was the premiere of Whitney Houston because she does a duet with him on the record.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
And this is before her record came out. But the album flash was really cool. That you can find some scattered episodes of it on YouTube. One of the more entertaining ones, I think, is the Go-Go's are talking about the making of their record. What was it? Talk Show. It was like the last one before they broke up. And then another one featuring Linda Ronstadt. I forget which one that was, but it was probably in that Nelson Riddle phase.
I see over here we're creeping in to the lineup is Rocky 3.
Rocky 3. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. For me, the Rocky movies, the best one was always the first one for me because it was the most story. There was a lot less in the way of montage. Rocky 4 is very popular. I remember seeing all these in the movie theater, but Rocky 4 was basically one montage after another.
Yeah, the thing is with 3 and 4, it was really at that point just entertainment. Like it wasn't really about storytelling anymore, it seemed.
Yeah, and the budget got bigger and bigger every time.
By the time 5 came around, I was not watching these movies.
I saw 5, again, a huge budget, didn't make as much money, and it kind of killed the series for a long time until that Rocky Balboa movie came out.
Right, which I thought was just passable. Like everyone's like losing their mind over it, but whatever.
Stallone is he's an incredible survivor, because if he didn't do Rocky, he would do, the Rambo movies were huge.
Oh yeah, completely.
And even then and then he went and rebooted the Rambo, and that first Rambo movie that he did recently was so good. It was actually, I really enjoyed it a lot.
So yeah, you got Fraggle Rock.
Dance Your Cares Away, Worries for Another Day, Let the Music Play down on Fraggle Rock.
Classic Enter the Dragon. It's not going to hurt anyone's feelings if you have that on.
Nope, that's a good one. Yeah. This, okay, you're coming up on SCTV, right?
Yeah, I mean, Eugene Levy.
That's Andrea Martin, Joe Flaherty, and Martin Short. I don't know why he's just
Martin Short. I mean, he used to be so funny. I mean, it's crazy. I found him funny. A lot of people didn't. It's.
I like Martin Short. You know what? I saw. What was that movie? Oh God, he was in this movie called Inner Space.
Oh yeah, I remember. It was a funny
with
movie.
Joe Dante. That movie, I laughed my ass off. I swear.
Yeah, I thought that was a cute movie.
It was so fun, and there's a great line in there. Dennis Quaid is talking to a doc. No, not Dennis Quaid. Dennis Quaid's in Martin Short.
Yeah,
Martin Short's talking to a doctor played by William Shallert, and he says, "Demons are talking to me." And he says, and William Shallert just takes him aside in all seriousness and says, "Demons don't talk to you; they talk through you." I thought that was the most hilarious thing.
That is actually really funny.
Here's all the sex movies there. Friday After Dark on Cinemax. Here
Have a hot time every Friday after dark.
You got Emily with Koo Stark. Koo Stark. We know who she is. She is the very famous Star Wars actress who wasn't. She was in the movie, and she was cut out completely in the original Star Wars movie. She was one of Luke Skywalker's friends.
Oh,
and the thing is, she's like this really gorgeous, and she had an affair with Prince Andrew, who was Prince Charles's brother. And so she was all over the UK press because of that. But then she starred in these erotic movies, Emily being one of them.
I'm looking her up right now.
Yeah, Koo Stark. And she was, I guess one of Luke's favorite friends or something from Tatooine before he goes off on his merry adventure. Yeah, Marilyn Chambers. I was right about Angel of Heat. These are all basically softcore films. Some of them are American, but most of them are European.
But here she is.
There she is. Look at her. They couldn't have her in that movie and have Carrie Fisher in the movie, too. There's only one woman in the Empire.
But I would say it would even be... I'd rather her be Princess Leia. Is that sacrilege? I don't know.
It kind of is, yeah. Because we don't really... She kind of looks like her, actually. It's interesting. Except, she doesn't have the crazy hair.
And didn't have the, cocaine addiction. But, we're not going to speak ill of the dead.
No, don't speak ill of Carrie.
Let's see.
All right. This is Assaulted Nuts, and there it is. You can see there's William Sadler, or Bill Sattler back there. He was Death in the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey movie, and there's Wayne Knight next to him. And this was I guess, I'm not really sure if they were a comedy troupe or if they were put together for this show specifically.
Drive-In Saturday Night.
There were some funny things. Drive-In Saturday Night, yeah.
Sean Penn Bad Boys.
There's First Blood. There's Vice Squad. This is all, it is literally drive-in stuff, except for Summer Lovers. That was directed by Randall Kleiser with Daryl Hannah and Peter Gallagher.
Didn't see it. Yeah.
It was MTV promoted the movie heavily because it used a bunch of songs from the time period. And there's Bad Boys. Bad Boys with Sean Penn and Ali Sheedy. I remember enjoying that movie, actually. It was a pretty good movie. A lot of people don't like Sean Penn, but he's a fine actor. He was a great actor when he was younger.
I would say anybody, when they grab a microphone and they start preaching to me about things, I don't want to hear about it and I don't like it. Whether it be Bono or Sean Penn or whoever.
He should move to Venezuela. He thinks it's so great over there.
But as an actor, he's a hell of an actor. His father, Leo Penn, worked on Little House on the Prairie.
Yes, Leo Penn was a film director and a television director. He directed an episode of Star Trek, and he appeared in an episode of Amazing Stories as an old man who, as an old janitor who becomes really smart after he's hit by a beam of light. It's kind of like Phenomenon, that Travolta movie.
Also, Sean Penn appeared as a kid and as an extra on Little House.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like maybe like 13 or something.
You could probably spot him very quickly too.
Yeah, he's like the cool looking guy with blonde hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
War Games, of course. The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, as you were saying, it's Nostradamus. That was such a big thing when you were a kid, right? Nostradamus.
Yeah. Orson Welles would go on the Tonight Show and talk about Nostradamus a lot. He would do magic tricks and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I practically thought he was Nostradamus.
Riddle of the Sands. I wanted to mention Riddle of the Sands very quickly. This was like an awesome movie that I watched constantly over and over again. Simon McCorkindale and Michael York with Jenny Agutter at her peak hotness, I have to mention. Uncovering a Nazi plot. And there's a couple of two actors in this movie that play Nazis in this movie also play Nazis in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, that's kind of crazy.
I guess they just kind of have that look, you know? I was thinking of playing like a dramatic role. We need you to play a Nazi. Oh, okay.
We also have this Rich Little stand-up thing that they squeeze in down here.
Oh, Rich Little.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Rich Little, but, you know.
He does good impersonations.
Yeah, I remember him being funny, but he wasn't somebody I would want to go out of my way for. It wasn't like an Eddie Murphy or something.
Here we have, this is the pirate movie again.
Yeah, with Chris Atkins and Christy McNichol.
It's a little strange. Didn't they do a movie of the Pirates of Penzance?
Yeah, but this was the worst version.
So there were two movies, and this is another Pirates of Penzance. That was the one with Kevin Kline and Linda Ronstadt, right?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
I believe they made that. Yeah, and it was, and this is a musical too. They sing in this one too.
Yeah. From what I remember, it's a musical.
I always liked Christy McNichol.
Yeah, me too. She was kind of
I always thought she was incredibly talented, and she had this. She was very real, I guess, is what you would say.
Yeah, you had her brother out there, Jimmy McNichol.
Jimmy McNichol, who was in, what was he in? He was in
anything she was in, really. All the early stuff. They were kind of like one of those Disney packages, you know.
Right. He was in this movie. Oh, Jimmy McNichol was in this movie that's very similar to the movie at the top here, Split Image. About a kid who was deprogrammed from a cult. It was called I Am the Cheese. Don't ask me why I know the title of that.
I Am the Cheese?
I Am the Cheese.
Interesting.
And then there's Tin Man, which is kind of like a Flowers for Algernon story about a computer that allows this deaf genius to communicate. It's a pretty good movie. Oh, America Undercover. This was a huge series that won 100 Emmys. It was very graphic and very brutal.
Yeah, I mean, life or death in the emergency room was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But also, growing up stoned, that sounds like a really kind of fun movie. And then Hooker.
HBO always made, even back then, they made these incredible, hard-hitting documentaries, what they called exposés back then.
Yeah, I'd like to find these.
And then, later on, TV networks would do the same thing.
Yeah, they would totally do their own versions and ruin it. Firefox. What did you think of Firefox?
Awesome movie. Yeah. Once again, you got Clint Eastwood. You got this really cool fighter jet, and he's a fighter jet pilot, and he.
It reminded me of Blue Thunder.
In that kind of technology run amok kind of way, you're right. But it's a fun movie, and the Cane Mutiny, I have to say, is it's probably my favorite Humphrey Bogart movie, actually. Up there with Treasure of Sierra Madre and The African Queen and Key Largo. It's a good movie. I recommend people see it because it was a very kind of like, it's like a museum piece about mental health and paranoia and all that stuff.
Double bogey.
Two double bogeys there, yeah. There's Twice Upon a Time. Sophie's Choice with Kevin Kline, also with Meryl Streep there.
It's always fun to watch on a Saturday
yeah.
night.
That's one of those, And Still the Night is a great film. Murder mystery, Roy Scheider and Meryl Streep again. I really enjoyed it. Apparently, though, according to Meryl Streep, she didn't enjoy it all that much. I don't know why. Yeah, she, for some reason, on the Wikipedia page, there's a quote from her, in which she's talking about how she didn't enjoy the movie or something. I don't know.
Double Street.
Double Street, double bogey, double Street.
Yeah.
All right. How about George Carlin?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to see him live at the Westbury Music Fair. And yeah, George Carlin, I mean, when was he not funny?
He was, well, when you saw him, when did you see him?
This is probably 90s, like early 90s.
Right. So he was probably a lot angrier and more political back then, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
This was a different George Carlin. This was a George Carlin before he became angry and political. He made observations about things, and he talked a lot about philosophy, and he talked a lot about language. That's what he was big. Well, he was big on language later on in his career as well, but he just got kind of more
Well, when his
raspy.
wife died, I think he got really bitter.
I guess in this one he could make you laugh by saying things like, have you ever realized that mice have no shoulders?
Right. And he could
You put a necklace on a mouse, it goes right to his waist. They think it's a belt. What do they know? They're mice.
And he could somehow deliver it in a way that no one else can.
Yes. And he would say things like, did you ever have a hatchet go right through your face? It's funny because before you feel any pain, you'd get this sudden blast of cool air on your brain. And it feels so good. Little things, little weird observations.
Yeah.
He
did get darker and darker. Not
he
necessarily the news again.
A Toast to Lenny Bruce.
The Comedy
You guys
Store.
talked about that, didn't you? Did you guys talk about A Toast to Lenny Bruce on one of the other guides?
You know what? Lenny Bruce is just one of these guys who just, whether it be him, a tribute or a toast or something, it's always popping up in these guides.
Lenny Bruce, I guess he was very influential. He was like one of the first stand-ups to use vulgar language. He went to jail for using words, They made a movie, Dustin Hoffman made a movie, directed by Bob Fosse called Lenny, and I believe he got an Oscar nomination, but it really just it wasn't about the revolutionary. It was more about the guy who drank too much and did too many drugs and all that kind of stuff. So it was a movie about a stand-up comedian, and it wasn't funny at all. So there you go.
What about the Comedy Store's 11th anniversary show? We got Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Jimmy Walker,
J.J. Walker.
Do you remember Father Guido Sarducci? You remember this guy?
I remember him on. Yeah, he was on Saturday Night Live, and
Sandra Bernhard.
He did this thing where you have to find the Pope in the pizza. So he had a pizza and a picture of the Pope in there somewhere, and you had to find it. And if you could find it, then I don't know, you won a contest or something.
Like in Rocky, you mentioned Rocky before. I can't remember if it's part 1 or 2 when he goes to get a prayer. He's like, "Yo, father, they throw me down one of them prayers," or something along those lines.
I think that was Rocky 2. I'm not sure, but yeah.
But I keep expecting Father Guido Sarducci to come out.
Yeah, the guy pops his head out and he's like, "I'm going to pop you. It was what I mean." He's like, "Thank you, Father."
With the sunglasses at night, But yeah, I mean, interesting characters.
And there's not necessarily the news.
Yeah. Which
I forget which one. If it was Michael or Mitchell Lawrence who's on the show, both of them are actors. One of them was in Eddie and the Cruisers, and the other one was. And there's Stuart Pankin, I believe, and there's Rich Hall, the great Rich Hall, who would go on just to. He went to Saturday Night Live for its 84-85 season before Lorne Michaels came back, and he just did the same thing basically, which was Sniglets.
Sniglets.
You remember Sniglets, right?
No, I know the word. I can't place it though.
Sniglets are made-up words to describe things, and it's just. Okay. I guess it's kind of funny. Let me see if I can find an example of a sniglet for you.
But Rich Little.
Sniglet.
It's weird with Rich Little. I mean, he's one of these guys that I remember thinking was funny when I was a kid. But I don't think I could sit through a Rich Little performance.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I got a couple here. Aquadextrous. That means that's the ability to turn the bathtub faucet with your toes. Okay? And then there's cast Caspers. Cast Caspers. That's dead actors who appear on television. I don't know what that Chwads.
Twads?
That's discarded gum found beneath tables and countertops. Okay, one more. Joke salt. Okay, joke salt. When someone insults you, you call them on it, and they say it was just a joke. So it was just a joke. It's like if I say something
Joke
nasty about you, but then
salt.
you get offended, and I go, it was just a joke. So there you go. Those are Snigglets. Thank you so much for listening. And good night.
I think I'm gonna look up his Groucho. I'm curious to see if it was any good.
Oh, Rich Little?
Yeah, because it looks like he's being Groucho here, right? I mean,
Groucho as Robin Hood, I guess? I don't know.
I don't know. Wimbledon, I don't know. It was always a big part of HBO.
This was one of their ways to get you to subscribe to HBO, because they bought the rights to broadcast Wimbledon, the first release of it, and then it would show like on regular network television maybe a couple of days later. Mm-hmm. But if you were a big tennis fan, you would obviously want to see Wimbledon. And this was tennis at its peak. I mean, look at that. You've got John McEnroe and Martina Navratilova,
Yeah, McEnroe yelling at people probably.
Yes.
Hair grease too.
Yeah, grease too. It brings back everybody except Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta.
Did you see Enigma with Martin Sheen?
I may have seen it a long time ago.
I didn't know that it was in this. That it was here, but I actually saw this about a year ago, and it's pretty good for the first time I saw it.
Does he try to do a Russian accent or anything?
Not that I recall.
Okay, all right, good.
It might be on
Martin Sheen has a very distinctive voice, and if he tried to do that, he'd sound like Connery, in The Hunt for Red October.
Now I have to go back, and I can't really say for sure. It might have been like intentionally bad.
There's Sam Neill. Who's the girl? The girl looks familiar there.
This girl?
Who is that? No, not her. The one above Sam Neill. There, yeah. Who the hell is that?
Doesn't
All
say.
right. I'm going to have to look it up. I got to find out. It's going to drive me crazy if I don't.
Let's see. Heartaches. Richard Dreyfuss. I love Richard Dreyfuss in Jaws, but that's it. I don't like.
Okay, Bridget Fosse, who I've never heard of. Never mind.
Oh,
okay,
her.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just saying Richard
all right.
Dreyfuss. I don't
So
like
these
him in
are
anything
what
else.
movies that
Heartaches.
are romances or not?
Although Diary of Anne Frank, I don't know if that's exactly in the love part.
Whose Life Is It Anyway is another movie directed by John Badham. And this one is like one of those movies that takes place in one location. He's in bed. He was in an accident or something, right? And he wants to die. But I guess he falls in love with Amy Irving. I guess that's what happens.
It's just not my cup of tea. Like it's
a drama with a lot of, curse words.
Yeah. Curse words.
All right, David Soul. How about that?
Yeah, David Soul.
The great David Soul.
Sissy Spacek. Yeah.
Raggedy Man with Sam Shepard. Yeah, these are dramas.
Yeah.
These are basically dramas. There's Love Child with Amy, what's her name? Amy Madigan and Beau Bridges.
Let's see what's next.
Here we go. Family Showcase.
Yeah, we have The Big Cats. Robert Culp in Land of the
Charlie
Free.
Brown. Something called Misty.
It's kind of cool
is
that
that
they have Charlie
Kurt
Brown.
Russell?
Right? Just having Charlie Brown on here is pretty cool.
Let me see who that kid is. Misty, 1961. Sometimes the guide can be a little bit frustrating because they don't give you the names.
Yeah, they should at least give one name. They have The Room.
Okay, so who's the kid? Oh, David Ladd. Okay, got that completely wrong. All right.
Dolly Parton Meets the Kids.
Shipwreck. I remember that movie. I used to watch it.
Another Snoopy, double Snoopy.
Snoopy Come Home. There's the Water Babies with James Mason.
That's
apparently.
what you were asking. You're like, what is this?
And then there's an elephant called Slowly, which is
Something I would skip.
This is I was not interested in those movies because these movies were for kids, and all I cared about at 11 years old was boobies.
Yeah. I mean, you might tune into Dolly Parton in the hopes that you'll see boobies, but you're not going. You're not going to.
I want to see Dolly Parton. Miss Parton, could you bend over and show me that thing again?
Can you pick that up for me?
Could you pick that up? I dropped my napkin.
King of Comedy, one of the all-time great movies.
The King of Comedy was a movie I did not appreciate when I was young, but then I watched it later on in adulthood. We got to see it at the Ziegfeld Theater. It was a triple feature. Okay, this was great. It was an IFC sponsored triple feature, and Bronwyn got tickets to it. This was before we got married. This was 1998 or 1999, and we went, and it was the King of Comedy, followed by Harold and Maude, directed by Hal Ashby, followed by Polyester, my favorite John Waters film, and it was just a great triple feature to have. It was a lot of fun, and I still have the Scratch and Sniff Odorama card that we got with it.
That is a very strange mixture of films.
I guess IFC had the rights, and these were excellent prints too, and they were actual prints, no digital projection back then. Remember?
Yeah, I love the Ziegfeld.
These movies are now nothing but digital projection. No prints are being struck.
Yeah.
Lost the picture. Man.
No more flicker. Or if there is flicker, it's artificial. Spring Break, that's what I would be tuning in on. I see a booby. Get Crazy, I'm not familiar with this. It looks kind of fun.
Get Crazy is a really fun movie. I lost the picture here. I'm not seeing it.
I'm sorry.
Get Crazy I have on Blu-ray. It's a great film directed by Alan Arkush. It's got a great cast. Daniel Stern. Malcolm McDowell, of course, playing a Mick Jagger-like rock star. Lou Reed is in it at the end. Stacey Nelkin is in it, playing Daniel Stern's little sister. And Stacey Nelkin was the inspiration for Woody Allen's Manhattan for the Mariel Hemingway character, because apparently Woody Allen was dating Stacey Nelkin, and she was in high school at the time. That is interesting how it all connects. Let's Spend the Night Together is a Hal Ashby movie, and it's not great. It is probably one of the weakest concert films ever, and it's so disappointing because it's the Stones. And there's no physicality to it. It's basically just a bunch of wide shots, and that's about it. This
might be a controversial statement, but the Rolling Stones are awful live. They're just.
If you see them like in Gimme Shelter, or you see them in, what's that other one? Rock and Roll Circus, I think, the one with John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band. They're okay there, but this was a really disappointing movie.
But if you were to go and dig up Cocksucker Blues, you see these performances.
There goes our G rating.
Yeah, right.
I was trying to keep it clean, man.
No. Say whatever you want. But yeah, in Cocksucker Blues, you see a lot of course, like the behavior is crazy, but their performances are so bad. It's just insane.
I've never seen them. My mother saw them.
Yeah.
In Anaheim when she was pregnant with me, and I was in her belly at the time.
That's interesting.
It is,
they're one of my favorite bands. In particular, the Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street is one of my top 5 favorite albums. It's just live. They're awful.
Yeah, I'd go all the way up to Black and Blue, maybe even Metamorphosis. And I like some of the 80s stuff. I like Undercover of the Night a little bit, but mainly I'm like, Beggar's Banquet, what's that, Goat's Head Soup, that kind of stuff. I like that early stuff. It's a lot of fun.
And this has some good music in it, like Beast of Burden, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't this doesn't stand out to me. I don't remember it.
Oh yeah, Some Girls. I like Some Girls. I like Emotional Rescue, that kind of the weird disco stuff that they did later on. Yeah. That was okay.
Let's see. Look what's on HBO and Cinemax this July.
Yes.
So this is
our friend Dave had this little insert that he had in there.
That little thing is put in there to say, like, please subscribe for 1 more month.
Yeah. Draw was a cute movie. Octopussy, of course, was a good movie too.
Yeah. But
there's Jaws 3 over there. Oh. I enjoy it. It's a guilty pleasure. I love it though.
Well, Jaws 3D.
Jaws 3D. I saw it in the movie theater. Yeah, I had the glasses.
So did I. I remember keeping the glasses, and they just got thrown away at some point.
See, that's the problem, And I'm grateful for Dave collecting this stuff.
Yeah, this is in great condition too.
And yeah, it's just, I think back, I didn't have, I guess my childhood didn't really facilitate me being able to hold on to a lot of stuff. There's very few things I have from my childhood left anymore.
Well, you can always buy replicas.
This is Survivors, another great movie I love, directed by Michael Ritchie, starring Robin Williams and Walter Matthau. Great film. Easy Money.
Yeah.
Great movie. You know, a lot of fun stuff here. Yellowbeard was an okay one. I need to go back and look at that one again.
Yeah, I remember it, but I don't know if I ever sat through it. I don't know what that is.
It's a Joanne Woodward Film Festival. She was married to Paul Newman. Smoking the Bandit Part 3, I do remember enjoying when I was a kid, and then I watched it later on, and I was like, this is so stupid.
All of those movies are difficult, I find. All of them.
Yeah. He put it upside, put it right side up. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I'm like twisting my head. Yeah, it's
That's
cool.
also Jackie Gleason over there.
Yeah, of course, like in his Patton moment.
Yeah, the only thing I can recommend for the movie is I enjoy Jerry Reed, but Burt Reynolds isn't really in the movie, and also Colleen Camp is really beautiful and she's really gorgeous in the film.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, how many Smoking the Bandit movies do you really need? One.
The first one was really good. The second one was not.
Yeah, the first one, they could have ended it.
Yeah, they could have. I mean, it was basically just having fun in a car with Sally Field.
What was the Survivors again? You were just talking about it. I don't
Right.
remember it.
Well, Robin Williams plays a yuppie who is fired. He goes nuts. He accidentally blows up Walter Matthau's gas station. And then they are both in a diner when Jerry Reed comes in, and he is he tries to rob the place, and both Robin Williams and Walter Matthau work together to kind of they basically save everybody in the diner. But then Jerry Reed comes back because he knows they can identify him. Robin Williams, after this, becomes a survival nut, and he goes upstate, and he has guns and all this stuff. And meanwhile, Jerry Reed's trying to kill them, and Walter Matthau's trying to save everybody. And, you know, it's a great movie. It's seek it out if you can.
I feel like we should review Jaws 3D, but the 3D version, and tell everyone to get glasses.
If you could find it. I mean, you can't find a 3D. I have a nice Blu-ray set of all the Jaws movies, and I got the whole thing for $20. You believe that? Everything is so cheap. Everything costs less than a dozen eggs these days.
Jaws 3D. I'm just kind of curious. Like, I'm gonna hunt.
You know, though, watching the movie, you know when you watch the movie where the 3D effect is, because they do it right at the camera, right in your face.
Yeah. It's like the
It's like bukkake.
Oh my god. But you know, what was that other, The Kingdom of the Nine Stones, or something like that? There was another 3D movie where it was like acrobatics. Do you remember?
I have no clue. What is this? The Kingdom of what?
I don't know. It was
This sounds like one of those ultra-violent Japanese space pornos.
Wait, 3D movie. I'm gonna say 1981.
Kingdom of the Nine Stones. 9 Stones. No.
7. I mean, it's
7 and the Ragged Tiger. With 6, you get egg roll. I don't know anything with numbers in it.
I'm just looking.
The 5 faces of, I don't know. The 7 faces of Dr. Lau. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll find it. It'll pop up. So yeah, let's and we get to the back page.
Yes, we're an all-time high.
Yeah.
This is Octopussy, one of my favorite. This is like one of my, I think this might have been my introduction to James Bond. This is why Roger Moore's still my favorite James Bond, really, because of Octopussy and A View to a Kill. I love those movies.
Yeah, they're fun movies. I always like.
And Sean Connery's before our time, anyway.
Yeah, but I always like the whole. I don't know. The posters are always fun. They get so many like little details in there, like the martini.
Yeah. It almost looks like AI, doesn't it? You know how they do this weird AI thing with all the arms and everything?
It's like before AI, yeah.
We get it, though. She's supposed to be an octopus, so she's got all the arms. And at least they all have 5 fingers. Huh?
Yeah, Did you ever see that you can buy this thing where you put it on your hand and it gives you a sixth finger? So you could say, like if you take a picture, say, look, that's AI.
Or you could say it's not a real picture and say it's AI because you have the sixth finger.
Yeah,
say, that's not me. Yeah. See, it's got 6 fingers. Exactly. It's perfect. I love it. I love that idea.
But so it brings us to the end of this read through.
This is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was really nice to look at this guide again.
I haven't done one of these in a long time, so I'm a little rusty. But yeah, we should definitely choose another one, and I think it'd be a lot of fun, even a catalog.
Yes, I would love to do that. I'd love to look at one of those old Sears catalogs from the early 80s. Yeah. See all the weird action figure play sets and stuff like that.
I cannot find this movie. I'm going to find it as soon as I press the stop button. It's
okay.
But David, again, where would be the best place to kind of track down your work?
Right now, there are 2 places you can go to: Blissville, BlissvillePodcast.com, where a lot of my more ethereal work is, and then you can find you can also find my stuff on VHSRewind.com under Vintage Cablebox, Vintage Cablebox June '84, or Hidden Gems, or Dave's Picks, and also I recommend people go to VHS Rewind because there's a lot of fun stuff there that isn't just me.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of good stuff.
Avid.
Oh, and you can go on YouTube. Look for me on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Upstairs of Fralix, or I don't know what else we did. My Twilight Zone. That Twilight show about the Zone.
Yeah,
is still up.
By the way,
there's also the 2 David stuff. Treasure of the 4 Crowns. Okay, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, see,
I
can't really see the poster.
A lot of 3D movies back in the day, and just look for me anywhere. And also, remember to be kind and rewind.
As always, David, thank you so much for doing this. I always appreciate it. And I look forward to doing another one very soon.